Just picture.
Hey Shirley Temple fans, what we have in front of us is Grand Central Airport in Glendale, California, and behind that are the Verdugo Hills behind Burbank, California. And the reason why I'm filming here is this is where Shirley Temple filmed the famous Bright Eyes, and where I'm standing right here is where the original runway where Shirley Temple got on inside the DC-2 with James Dunn and the UCLA football team, and this is right along this route is where she sang the Good Ship Lollipop. And here's the original tower that you see in the film Bright Eyes, and they've also used this airport in countless movies in the 20s and 30s and 40s. And as you can see, they're revamping it back to the original way it looked in the 1930s. And they closed this airport in 1959, and here's the original runway. And all these offices are all Walt Disney corporate offices, Walt Disney Imagineering. And Lady Killer was filmed here. Like I said, Bright Eyes. Lots of Hollywood films from the 30s and 40s was filmed here. Hell's Angels was filmed here. Howard Hughes film 1930. And this was called Grand Central Airport when it opened, but when they built the tower right there, the control tower, it was in 1929 when that was built. This airport originally was built by the wealthy Mr. Brand, who built his castle up above us, and right now it's a museum, an art museum. But he built this, and he built it originally for his friends to fly in their private planes at the time. And he just had one caveat: they had to bring their own plane and their own friends, and then he would open up his castle. But getting back to this, if you've seen Bright Eyes, there's a lot of scenes in front where she's standing with good old dog Ragsy, and Jimmy Dunn played the guy that was going to adopt her from the Smiths, that horrible family, except for the grandfather, of course. And if you remember Jane Withers, how mean she was as Joy Smith. And James Dunn played Jimmy Loop Merritt. She'd call him Loop. And let me pan around for you guys here. And like I said, this was the original runway right here where Shirley Temple got on the DC-2 and sang the Good Ship Lollipop. And we're on the border of Burbank and Glendale. And thankfully they're restoring this building back to the original Art Deco motif. And it was originally built in 1923, but like I said, they built the control tower in 1929. And it was an Art Deco design. And for years this place was boarded up. It was defunct. It wasn't in business. And now Disney is going to start using it for whatever reason they're going to use it, for animation purposes. And let me cross the street over here. And I just want to say that Charles Lindbergh, he piloted the first scheduled coast-to-coast flights from here. And Wiley Post used this airport, and Amelia Earhart bought her first airplane here. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that this is where Wiley Post took off on his last trip with Will Rogers in 1935. And also Howard Hughes built his H-1 racer. If you've ever seen the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, that's the racer that he had to bail out of and it crashed. Well, this is where he took off from, and he built it. And I just want to say I'm glad that they decided not to tear it down, and that the Disney people were prescient enough to keep it. And the original arches they're opening up before they filled them in, and as you can see, they're restoring it back to its original grandeur of that wonderful type of style of architecture back in the late 20s and 30s. And it was defunct for years. and it's kind of like a I think it was an Italianate colonial, Spanish colonial style. I gotta look that up, do my due diligence. But again, a lot of scenes from Bright Eyes here in 1934. And after this film was released, Shirley received the first Academy Award for a child, by a child, and it was also a miniature Oscar for her work in this film Bright Eyes and Little Miss Marker in 1934. So thankfully they're restoring it back to its original grandeur, and like I said, those arches for years were filled in, and now they're opening it up. And it was supposed to also be like kind of like a motif of a railroad terminal, they said, when they built the tower. And they said that he wanted to make it look like a Grand Central Railroad terminal, the architect. And okay, and one more factoid: this was the first paved runway west of the Rockies when it was built, if you can believe it. And this was the only way into LA County, right along this strip. So I could imagine all the famous people that flew in here at that time, all the famous people that flew out of it. And okay, well, thankfully Walt Disney is the company. They're refurbishing that Grand Central Terminal. It was actually called Grand Central Airport, and then they changed it to Grand Central Air Terminal when the control tower was built in 1929. Okay, thanks a lot. And you Shirley Temple fans, make sure you see my my uploaded video of her house on my YouTube channel, and please subscribe. Thanks a lot.